Every year, valuable coins are mistaken for worthless pocket change because they're dirty, scratched, faded, or covered in years of wear. Most people assume damaged coins have no value. But collectors know a surprising secret: sometimes the ugliest coins are the ones worth the most. Writing. At first glance, a 1989 Washington quarter looks like nothing special. In fact, if it's dirty, scratched, faded, or covered in years of wear, most people wouldn't think twice before spending it. It might be sitting in a coin jar, tucked away in an old dresser drawer, or mixed in with loose change from decades ago. But what if one of those ordinary-looking quarters could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars? That's exactly why collectors pay close attention to coins that other people ignore. The 1989 Washington quarter is a perfect example. Millions were made, and most are worth only 25 cents today. But hidden among those millions are a handful of coins that have become highly desirable to collectors, and some have sold for astonishing amounts of money. What makes this story even more exciting is that many valuable examples don't look perfect. Some have spent years in circulation. Some appear dull and unattractive. Others look like ordinary pocket change. Yet beneath that worn appearance could be a coin that collectors are willing to pay serious money to own. The Washington quarter has been a familiar part of American life since 1932. Featuring President George Washington on the front, it has passed through countless hands during some of the most important moments in modern history. By 1989, the quarter had become one of the most widely used coins in the country. Americans carried them in their pockets, used them in vending machines, laundromats, parking meters, and everyday purchases. Because quarters were used so heavily, most examples from 1989 became worn over time. The details on Washington's hair gradually faded. The eagle on the reverse lost some of its sharpness. Tiny scratches accumulated from years of use. Dirt and grime settled into the design. To the average person, these signs of age made the coin seem less valuable. To experienced collectors, however, they often tell a fascinating story. One of the first things collectors look for on a 1989 quarter is its mint mark. Coins from this year were produced at multiple facilities, including Philadelphia and Denver. Checking the mint mark takes only a second, yet it can provide important information about the coin's origin. A small letter near Washington's portrait can reveal where the coin was made and whether it belongs to a group that collectors actively pursue. Condition also matters, but not always in the way people think. Many people assume that if a coin is scratched or dirty, it has no value. That's simply not true. While severe damage can reduce value, age and wear alone do not automatically make a coin worthless. In fact, some coins become valuable because they survived decades of circulation and are still difficult to find in certain grades. Then there are the coins that truly excite collectors. Every now and then, a quarter leaves the mint with something unusual. It might have a striking anomaly, an unexpected production issue, or a feature that makes it stand out from ordinary examples. These are the coins that send collectors searching through rolls of quarters and old coin collections. Imagine finding an old 1989 quarter in a coffee can filled with spare change. The coin looks worn. The surface is dark. The edges show years of use. Most people would toss it back without another thought. But what if closer inspection revealed something unusual? What if that ordinary-looking quarter turned out to be a collectible rarity? Stories like this happen more often than many people realize. Across the United States, valuable coins have been discovered in dresser drawers, inherited collections, piggy banks, and forgotten jars of change. Some owners had no idea they possessed something special until a collector or dealer took a closer look. The thrill of the hunt is what keeps so many people interested in coin collecting. Unlike many hobbies, treasure can still be found in everyday places. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need a metal detector. Sometimes all you need is patience and a willingness to examine coins that others overlook. For 1989 Washington quarters, collectors often pay attention to sharp details, unusual characteristics, and overall eye appeal. A coin that escaped heavy circulation may command a premium. Coins with notable mint-related oddities can attract even greater attention. And when demand meets rarity, prices can rise dramatically. Auction records have shown that exceptional examples of modern Washington quarters can bring surprisingly high prices. While the average circulated quarter remains worth face value, top-quality examples and unusual pieces have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That's a huge difference for a coin most people barely notice. This is why experts often recommend never cleaning old coins. Cleaning may seem like a good idea, especially when a coin appears dirty or tarnished. But collectors generally prefer original surfaces. In many cases, cleaning can actually reduce value rather than increase it. That dirty-looking quarter may be far more desirable in its natural state than after an attempt to make it shine. Think about how many quarters have passed through your hands over the years. Hundreds? Thousands? Most were spent without a second thought. Yet among those countless coins could have been pieces that collectors would eagerly search for today. The possibility is what makes every handful of change exciting. The 1989 Washington quarter represents more than just 25 cents. It represents the idea that hidden value can exist where few people bother to look. A coin that seems ordinary can sometimes become extraordinary. A worn piece of pocket change can spark curiosity, start a collection, or even lead to an unexpected payday. So the next time you come across an old quarter from 1989, don't dismiss it because it looks dirty, scratched, or worn. Take a closer look. Check the date. Examine the details. Consider where it has been and what stories it might tell. That humble quarter may have traveled across the country, passed through thousands of hands, and survived decades of daily use. And while most 1989 quarters are still worth only face value, a select few have proven that appearances can be deceiving. The coin sitting unnoticed in a jar of change today could be the very coin that a collector has been searching for. That's what makes coin hunting so exciting. Sometimes the most valuable discoveries are hiding in plain sight, disguised as nothing more than an old, worn-out quarter. Next up, coin. Writing. The 1983 Washington quarter is one of those coins that millions of Americans have handled without ever realizing it could be worth far more than 25 cents. If you found one today in a jar of old change, tucked away in a drawer, or mixed into a collection of worn coins, you might assume it's just another common quarter. After all, it's not made of silver. It doesn't look flashy. And many examples appear dirty, scratched, faded, or heavily worn from decades of circulation. But appearances can be incredibly deceiving. Some 1983 Washington quarters have become highly sought after by collectors, and certain examples have sold for hundreds, thousands, and even astonishing amounts when they possess the right combination of rarity and condition. That's what makes this coin so fascinating. It hides in plain sight. It looks ordinary. Yet it has become one of the most talked about modern quarters among serious collectors. To understand why, imagine America in 1983. The country was moving through a decade of rapid change. Personal computers were becoming more common. New technologies were emerging. Popular culture was evolving. Through it all, quarters remained one of the most frequently used coins in everyday life. People carried them everywhere. They were used in vending machines, laundromats, parking meters, payphones, and countless daily transactions. Because these coins circulated so heavily, most examples became worn rather quickly. They bounced from pocket to pocket, cash register to cash register, and city to city. Over time, the sharp details on the coin gradually softened. Washington's portrait lost some of its definition. Small scratches appeared across the surface. Dirt and oils from countless hands darkened the metal. Many coins ended up looking old and tired. That's exactly why collectors pay attention when they encounter a 1983 quarter today. One of the first clues people notice is the date itself. While 1983 doesn't sound particularly old, collectors know it represents an interesting period in modern coinage. Many people saved older silver coins, proof sets, and special issues from previous decades. But fewer people thought about preserving ordinary circulating quarters from the early 1980s. As a result, truly exceptional examples became surprisingly difficult to find later. This creates an unusual situation. A coin that was once incredibly common can become scarce in top condition simply because very few people bothered to save pristine examples. Imagine two people receiving quarters in change during 1983. One spends every coin immediately. The other puts away a handful of quarters and forgets about them for decades. Fast forward many years, and those preserved coins may suddenly attract collector interest because they survived in far better condition than most others. That possibility is what keeps collectors searching through rolls of quarters and old collections. When examining a 1983 Washington quarter, collectors often start by looking at the overall appearance. Even a worn example can be worth investigating. A coin doesn't need to shine like new to deserve attention. In fact, many valuable coins look surprisingly ordinary at first glance. The real excitement begins when a collector notices something different. Perhaps the details appear unusually sharp. Maybe the coin has exceptional eye appeal despite its age. Sometimes there may be characteristics that set it apart from the countless other quarters produced that year. These discoveries transform an ordinary coin hunt into something much more exciting. Stories of valuable coin finds continue to inspire collectors across the country. People have discovered collectible coins in inherited collections, forgotten piggy banks, old coffee cans, and jars of loose change that sat untouched for years. In many cases, the owners had no idea they possessed something special. Picture someone cleaning out a closet and finding a container filled with old coins. Most of the coins appear worn and dirty. The natural assumption is that they're worth little more than face value. But after taking a closer look, one coin stands out. A collector recognizes its potential, and suddenly that overlooked piece of change becomes far more interesting. That's the dream that drives countless coin enthusiasts. The 1983 Washington quarter has earned a reputation for rewarding careful observation. While the average circulated example remains worth only 25 cents, collectors know that certain quarters from this year can command much higher prices. The difference often comes down to factors that are easy to overlook. This is why experienced collectors never rush when examining coins. They take their time. They study the details. They compare one coin to another. Most importantly, they understand that rarity is not always obvious. Many people make the mistake of assuming that age alone determines value. That's not true. Some coins that are more than a century old remain relatively affordable because large numbers survived. Meanwhile, certain modern coins can become surprisingly valuable because fewer exceptional examples exist. The 1983 quarter illustrates this principle perfectly. Another important lesson involves cleaning. Countless people have found old coins and immediately tried to polish them until they shine. While that may seem like a good idea, collectors generally prefer original surfaces. Once a coin is cleaned, some of its appeal can disappear. A naturally aged coin often attracts more interest than one that has been aggressively polished. That's why experts frequently advise leaving old coins exactly as they are until their potential value is understood. Imagine discovering a dirty 1983 quarter at the bottom of a change jar. The surface looks dull. The coin doesn't appear impressive. Many people would spend it without hesitation. Yet that very coin could be the one that deserves closer attention. The excitement comes from the uncertainty. Every coin tells a story. A quarter minted in 1983 may have traveled thousands of miles. It may have passed through countless hands. It may have been used to buy groceries, pay for parking, purchase a newspaper, or make a phone call. Each mark on its surface reflects part of that journey. For collectors, that history adds to the coin's appeal. The Washington Quarter series remains one of the most popular collecting areas in the United States. Millions of Americans recognize the familiar portrait of George Washington instantly. Because the design is so well known, people often overlook the subtle differences that collectors search for. That's where opportunity exists. A person who learns what to watch for gains an advantage over those who simply ignore their change. Every quarter becomes a possibility. Every old coin deserves a second look. The 1983 Washington quarter serves as a reminder that valuable discoveries aren't always dramatic. Treasure doesn't always glitter. Sometimes it arrives disguised as an ordinary coin sitting unnoticed among dozens of others. And that's exactly why so many collectors remain passionate about searching through pocket change. Most of the time, you'll find ordinary coins. Occasionally, you'll find something a little better. And once in a while, you might uncover a coin that surprises everyone.